At this point, I think it's safe to say Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is the best anime game released to date. From its presentation to its gameplay, it doesn't leave much to be desired. While it keeps a lot of what fans loved in the Budokai Tenkaichi series, it also has much of what fans have been asking for, like Dragon Ball Super content. Throughout this game's story, you'll traverse through many familiar moments in the Dragon Ball Z storyline, but the game also gives the player choices throughout those storylines to come to different conclusions. What if portions aren't exactly a new thing in the series? With the what if portions and the custom battles that you, the player, can create for yourself to play or your friends to play, it makes it feel like an entirely new experience. Due to these custom battles, it's hard to say when this game will run out of content. Most players who are experienced will blow through the story and have their fun online in ranked or just casual matches, but once that gets old, it'll be hundreds if not thousands of unique custom battles for the player to partake in or to create for themselves. These battles can have all types of conditions or limitations for the player just to make them that more difficult. Now, if you're a newer player or even like myself who was experienced in the Budokai Tenkaichi series, it may be a little more difficult just to jump in and master the controls and the flow of the combat in this game. It's extremely fast-paced combat and the controls may have you working through a little bit of a learning curve. This game honestly surprised me though with the amount of depth there is to the combat as a whole. It's not as simple as just pressing circle like in the Storm series, but it's also not as complex as some of the more traditional fighters like Tekken and Street Fighter. It does just enough to make the player think, and like many other games in the Budokai Tenkaichi series, it makes you really feel like that superpower character that you're playing. When it comes to the story content, like I said earlier, Sparking Zero finally starts to dive into the Dragon Ball Super content, though I will say the presentation of these stories are somewhat lacking. Sparking Zero has a lot of content to cover as a whole, and they have to find a way to make these stories without breaking the bank. So as you go through a lot of the familiar portions of the story, they'll be told through screenshot cutscenes that are voiced over, and I'm not complaining about that as much because I didn't expect this game to be like a Kakarot where presentation is everything. Truthfully, I prefer that because Sparking Zero's gameplay is what really shoots it over the top for me, and also, the game, even in the cutscenes because it's rendered in the game's engine, they all still look very beautiful. Now, when it comes to the online portions of Sparking Zero, which is where most of you guys are going to be spending your time, I'm just going to tell you now, it's sweaty, and I mean very sweaty. I would not recommend hopping online until you understand the mechanics, especially on the defensive side. Now, the cool thing is you won't be going against stack team after stack team due to the point allocation system that's included on the online team battles. Each character on this huge roster is assigned a certain amount of points, and as you can assume, the stronger the character, the more points they'll cost. Now, as we all know, the roster in Sparking Zero is huge, but one nitpick I will complain about when it comes to the roster is certain characters actually not being there. The characters I'm speaking on are all the characters from the Dragon Ball superhero film. That film released almost 2 years ago now, and I understand the story portions of Sparking Zero doesn't cover that, but they're still playable in Xenoverse 2, and they're characters that almost everyone knows. If you know Dragon Ball Z, if you're up to date, you know these characters. I don't see why they couldn't have been added from day one. And I'm not sure, maybe they'll be added at a later date, maybe they'll cost some money, but even if they do, I'm not the biggest fan of that. But like I said, they may be added at a later date, but let's be honest, Gohan is a very beloved character, and the Beast form is one of the cooler looking forms out there, so it's kind of a letdown that we didn't receive that on day one. With all that being said, I think it's safe to say that I can recommend Sparking Zero at full price. This game is a Dragon Ball Z game that we've all been looking forward to, and it feels like it was made with love and with the fans in mind. And also with Akira Toriyama leaving us earlier this year, it's great to see his idea and his vision live on in this form, and in the form of Dragon Ball Daima as well. So if you haven't picked up Sparking Zero yet, go out there, get yourself a copy, and enjoy the game. It's been your boy Kasuke, and I'm out. Peace.